So, I just finished watching this Netflix special called The Bad Vegan. And in it was a young, charismatic, brilliant young woman who opened up a vegan restaurant in New York that became like the hot spot for celebrities and just all types, right? She gets herself entangled with a narcissist who is pretty much like a cult in all and of himself. Boy, did he ever think of schemes and ways to keep her tricked and to keep her mind fucked and to keep her like constantly on a swivel. And I know what that feels like. So the person that she married, not for love, but because he was love bombing her and told her that he would get her out of her debt. She had asked for $2 million. She got $2 million to start a restaurant from this investor, and she really wanted to pay him off. She didn't like being in debt to him. So this guy's like, oh, I could just do that. I could do that for you. It's no problem. It's no problem for me. I got all this money. He'd shown her all these ways that, all these places he'd been and things he'd done and all this stuff. But this was like after they were like, I guess, talking online for about about a year or so. So he had gained her trust and made all of these false, he was saying all of these things that he was, but he never was. All these things he had, but he really didn't. Some of which, anyway, he really defrauded her. And I could see myself in her, right? And I'm like, holy cow. I'm so happy now that I have done the internal cleanup, the internal healing that allowed me to clean up my mess so that I will never be involved in anything like that again. And I mean, it went all the way back to my childhood. I grew up in a cult. And so that cult pretty much shaped who I was for a very long time. It shaped the jobs I chose. It shaped the men I chose. It shaped the places I chose to live. It shaped a lot of things because it shaped my perceptions. And so it wasn't until I wanted to know truth, like the real truth about some stuff, that me going inside, crying and crying, I need to know this, like just asking myself, what is the truth here? Just screaming out to God, to some higher being, because something. What is the truth here? I need to know, because this cannot be the truth. I need to know the truth. And as the truth comes to me, I'm just happier and happier. But some people think that my husband, because we were together for 26 years, that he was a big part of my he was a big part of me feeling like I was brainwashed, right? And while it is true that he participated in that for sure, big time. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Can y'all see this? Do I have it here? I hate this. I can't see. And I don't want to not look away. I need to look. See. So while he played his role, and he did continue the mind manipulation, but it got started when I was a little girl, when I was 4 years old. That's when it got started for real. Well, it's probably got started before even then, but in this particular cult that I grew up in, that's what led me to choose my husband. That's what led me to choose the dude before him. That's what led me to choose the dude before that. That's what led me to choose the dude before that. That's what led me to being a teenage mom at the age of 17 or 16 and pregnant. Like all of those things, all of what I was being shaped and molded into led me to take those actions. And so, in me seeing that right now, all I can do is say thank you. Because those were all lessons that came from me because I needed them. My soul needed them. So for me to not have a childhood, I guess my soul needed that. For me to make that sacrifice, I guess my soul needed that. For me to raise a child with all of my heart and make so many sacrifices for that child, and for that child today to physically act like he can't stand me when all I ever did was my very best to be a great mom with whatever circumstances I had around me and trying to make sure that his circumstances were always better than my circumstances. I know it's not me. I know it's him. So, do you, boo? Right? Right. 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 But sitting here thinking, like, I know that I've encountered things in my life that seemed like, how could you go through that as smart as you are, as intelligent you are? But it was because I was emotionally put in a box when I was a little girl. And then it was validated over and over and over that my feelings meant nothing. That if they did mean something, I better keep them all inside. You need to stay inside your feelings. You need to keep it all inside. You too emotional. You too this. You too that. Just as a little kid, when you get your parents are spanking you, and these are people who supposedly love you, and then they tell you to be quiet, or else you'll get hit again. So now you gotta push all that inside. Like, what type of stuff is that? You just beat my ass, and now I can't even cry? Like, who the fuck does that? And I'm guilty of that too. When my son was coming up, my oldest, because I was so close to having all of that just done to me. So I did a lot of that to him. But with my youngest, it didn't happen that way because I was further away from it. So my consciousness, my awareness about it had grown, and my oldest son, he couldn't fully understand. He just felt like I gave my younger son better treatment, but which I actually did. But he couldn't understand, like, how could it be fair for him to have been treated that way? And it wasn't. It wasn't. There was no fairness in what I was taught and how I was taught to make sure that he listened to me. Now, while I gave him a lot more freedom than I was ever given, there were still parts of me that just were of what I was. It was a product of my environment. So I popped my son. I spanked my son. I put him in timeout. I took stuff from him. I did all that stuff. And if I had the awareness that I have right now, I would be able to allow him to express himself in different ways. I would express myself in other ways. I didn't even know how to express myself for real. So then, like, my throat chakra was blocked for so long. I had a chronic cough for so long. Maybe 12 to 15 years. I did not know how to express myself. Even as I did so as a younger person for sure. But I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. I was always trying my best not to hurt people's feelings. I just wanted to please them. And it would be at my own detriment. I dated this dude for 5 years. 5 years. And I didn't want to be with him for 2 days. Honestly, I was over liking him within a week. He still liked me, and he had this connection to my son, who was only He had just turned 3. And I mean, like within 4 or 5 weeks of meeting this man, my son had just turned 3. I had just turned 20. Yeah, whatever. So, I had this idea in my head that I didn't want my son to see me with Mighty Squatty and everybody. So I would not, I would stay with a guy a bit longer than I should have, because that was my, I was taught that that's what you should do. Yes, they use the word marriage, but they really just put it in you that you should stay in these relationships, whatever they are, even though they're detrimental to your health, because you shouldn't be jumping from one to the other to the other. And while that may have some other truth to it, it just also allows for people to stay in jobs and friendships and all sorts of things longer than they should. Way longer than they should. So anyhow, I feel like, oh shit, I felt like I was Forrest Gump. Anyway, but that really wasn't Forrest. It was something else. Anyhow, it was the religion that shaped it all. It was the religion. So take that stuff up off of black and whoever else, they played their parts like they were supposed to. If I hadn't been a part of that religion, maybe it would have been something else. Maybe these people were supposed to be in my life. Anyway, just like the religion. I do believe that the religion was supposed to be there. It definitely served its purpose. And there are some pros, but mostly cons. Let's just say that. So no, I no longer want to be a part of it at all. I met some really cool-ish people, but they are so, they're taught to have conditional love. And I don't need your conditional love. It's only like a part-time lover. It just love bombs. I can only get love from you when I act a way that these people told us we needed to act. You hardly want to do that stuff yourself. You know I know it. You know I know it. Man, yeah. So why not allow yourself to live your true life? To go find out. Ooh, look at that. I was in a little bit of tears. I was resonating with that goddamn show. I was like, I need some answers, because a lot of this resonates in a lot of ways, and I need to see the truth about it. I need to see which ways it is. Was it that way with Anthony? This man's name was Anthony too. And while yes, I identify greatly with a lot of that, the fear-mongering did not come from him. The fear-mongering came from the cult I was in. They did all of that. For me being a little girl, and then my dad wanting to be a good Christian, wanting to be a good Jehovah's Witness, he made sure that we got read the My Book of Bible Stories every night before bed. So I'm looking at these pictures. I'm looking at Adam and Eve. First they show you Adam and Eve. And then they show you Adam and Eve. Oh, they got put out of the paradise because somebody ate a piece of fruit. I swear I cannot make this up. So then, you see, you reading that for yourself, and then you're going to bed, and you're like, God dang, they was in paradise with all the animals loving them, and all the beautiful flowers and birds and trees, and they showing you this great big, this amazing picture, and their kids and stuff like that, and then they just show them put out the paradise, which meant as a little kid, guess where their kids were? Put out of the paradise. They ain't even do nothing. They ain't do nothing. But any kids they was going to have was going to be put out of paradise. Oh, well, your motherfucker shouldn't have did it. So anyway, Like, the next story I can remember is Cain killing Abel. And then he got put out of the non-paradise. And he went off to some place and married somebody. And when I ask questions about who did he marry, they're like, his sister. His sister from where? Because it says that he was put out because he murdered his brother. He was the first murderer, supposedly. But he was going to a place where murderers were accepted. So how was he the first murderer if murderers were already accepted at this place? I don't understand. And why was he so scared if he was the very first one to murder? Other people were thinking of murder. Other people were talking about murder. Other people were plotting murders, and he just was the first one that did it. Why was he so afraid that he had to go away to some other place where murderers were accepted and married somebody who wasn't his sister but was his sister, so they say? I mean, they just make all sorts of stuff up. I mean, I was a little girl, and I was like, well, like, I could think of all of that. They couldn't tell me nothing. So then, I can remember seeing there was a lot in his wife. And his wife turned into a pillar of salt because she just looked back. All she did was turn around and look back. And now she's a pillar of salt who's never, ever going to live again. Because she turned around and looked back, and they will hop on stuff like that and act like you're not supposed to think about what they said last year. When they made that shit up last year, and then this year they making up some other stuff. And it's like, you're not supposed to look back at that. Lot's wife looked back. And I'm like, if you don't look the back out my face. Anyway. I mean, then, okay, so this is like a little kid. You seeing people turn to a pillar of salt simply for looking back. And then, like, the Noah and the flood, and they got pictures of all this rain coming down, and people up on mountains, but the ark is floating, and it's his mother holding a little baby, just crying and distressed, and got her hand all up. We're holding a baby, but her hand is up in the air. Well, is she going to stop the rain? I don't know. But, yeah, these nightmarish stories, my older sister was made obligated to read to us every night. And then we were supposed to what? Have a good night rest? Have some good sleep? Still be friends with our self, our true self, our higher self, our gods, whatever we had. We're supposed to still be able to accept those when everything we're being told and taught is that what you are and who you are and all the parts of you are scary. Man, listen, I fell for it. I fell for it because I ain't like getting my ass beat. I did not. And I figured, if these things are scary and I don't like getting my ass beat, I just became somebody who I wasn't. But I ain't getting my ass beat no more. So I get to be who I am meant to be. I just had to go up under all of those ass beatings and go up under a whole bunch of other pain, a whole bunch of other scars, rip those scars open so that they could heal in a way that would be conducive to my health. So I started that process. Really, I thought that I was in that process. I've been in that process for quite some time. At least 2017. I feel like it probably was slow and steady, so I didn't even notice it as much. But came December of 2019, or was that December 2020? Maybe it was December 2020. Yes. My world changed it just felt like all of my skin got ripped off. and my organs were taken out. Like I was a Judy doll that was on Grey's Anatomy, and all my organs was being taken out from the inside and moved around, and everything got ripped off all at one time. And then came August. Like, so in December, with that ripping off, it just felt like I had to heal. It was like everything just had to like snatched off of me so that I could heal, because I just had too many sores. And then I'm healing, healing, healing. I'm on the road. I'm doing a solo trip to California. My husband gets put on an event, and I rush back here and take care of him. And then he transitions. He leaves his physical avatar here, and then I have to work through dealing with that, going through the grieving process, trying to figure out all of this stuff, asking these questions that I never asked before, because I've never been in this space before. This space is so deeply fucked up, and I know that it's going to take a big energy to get the fuck up out of here, because I'm so deep into it. There's no way I could keep one lungful of breath and make it back up to the top. So something has got to help me out. Some miracle has got to be performed here, because I only have one big deep breath in my lungs, and I am so deep into this shit that more than me, it has to be here helping me, because I'm finding my way floating to the fucking top. And the more I get to the top, and the lungs, the air in my lungs haven't even gone anywhere, they still doing everything they need to do, the happier I am. Oh my gosh, I'm nearly there, I'm nearly there, I'm nearly there. I still got the same amount of air in my lungs. Something is here with me. Something is here with me. What is here with me? What has me not even needing, like I need a breath? I don't even feel like it. Something has me knowing I'm okay. No matter, I see where I am. I see the circumstances around me. But something has me feeling I'm okay. And I just know I'm okay. No matter what happens, I'm okay. Because I'm now connected to love in a way that I haven't been before. I'm now connected to love unconditionally, so it does not matter the circumstances around me. I am okay. I'm more than okay. I'm great. I am at my best. And this is a big transition period for me. And not everybody is good with transitions. You know, they have people who actually train just for transitions, because they can happen all the time. And I've had a ton of transitions in my life recently that I can't do it. You know, it's like it's not within my power to do anything about it. It's just within my power to try and unpack what's going on with me. Try and, or not, I don't have to unpack it. Just try and let it unpack in front of me. Like, that's the part. I constantly thought I had to work to do everything, but what I really needed to do was surrender. Surrender to the fact that there's more truth than I could possibly know. And so if that's the case, I get to know more truth about things all the time. I don't want to know. I always want to be able to discern what is true for me and what is not. So I talk to my guides, I talk to my creator, I talk to myself. Listen, we are always going to ring around the rosy this stuff. Every single time there's anything that I need to process mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, we all are processing it. I'm no longer processing any of this stuff alone. I don't need to, I don't have to. So therefore, when it comes into me, I'm trusting my gut, because I know that my gut is connected to all. It's connected to all there is, because I've done the work to do so. And that's the difference between the Yana that sits here now and the Yana that used to be just last year. The Yana that was just in August. Just yesterday. Just this morning. I am constantly evolving, and I allow myself to do so. New epiphanies are constantly coming in because of the new ways that I allow myself to see things. Things that have always been here. Things that I just couldn't perceive because I had mental blockages. Things that, yes, has always been benefiting me, but I couldn't even really experience the joy of it, because, or the joy would be so fleeting, because I didn't really understand the attachment to myself, to how it was me causing the joy. I always thought it was something else. Even if I'm going out and seeking, I'm going to a comedy show to go have some laughs, it's still me following my intuitive promptings to be able to go ahead and do that. It's still me. Like I wasn't seeing myself, like where I came in to play with these things. But if it was something to criticize, then I definitely saw that. I could criticize myself 1,000,000 times in a minute, but I really wasn't seeing the other parts of me, just anything that I needed to criticize. hmm And I knew, I'm like, I didn't come here critical. I was shaped to be critical. That was something that is kind of like a racist, not being born a racist, but being groomed to be one. And I can totally see how that's the case. I mean, most of us should be able to, but I definitely get it. I was my worst critic. I had boyfriends telling me they hated how I talked to myself. Yana, why are you so critical on yourself? I was taught to be. I'm not necessarily saying by my parents, but heck yeah, they were definitely critical. They would talk about anybody, anytime. Your kid, your dog, your whatever. They talk about you. And that's just how people are. Until they decide they don't want to be criticized. And that might be the first step in it. Once you realize that who you're looking at is you don't want to criticize you. Get to a point you don't want to be criticized anymore. So you want to love on yourself, so you love on everybody else. Yep. Spread love is the Brooklyn way.